All right, so we're live, so we can start, talking. So yeah, Jacob, tell me about yourself, where you're from, your background.
Yeah, absolutely. So, born and raised in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
Uh, I also went to university there, so I went to University of Texas. So, look at more.
Yes.
Um,
I got a shirt of
and
the Longhorns. I wore them in some of my videos. I'm a
oh, that's
Longhorns
awesome.
fan.
Okay, big Longhorns fan. I was going to ask if you went to UT.
No, I didn't. I didn't. But I
Interesting.
have a few friends that went there, so
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, great. We have a lot of good sports teams and stuff like that, which is awesome. A lot of my friends and I used to joke that UT is a big sports company that does education on the side because their football team is so great. They have like an amazing women's volleyball team and basketball team.
Yeah.
So yeah, happy to be a Longhorn. But
Cool.
yeah, so I went to university at UT, and while I was there, I did a lot of work. I did computer science; that was my major, and I did a lot of work with databases. I did a lot of work with IoT devices and like internet-based solutions.
Yeah.
I also did a lot of like entrepreneurship stuff. UT is very well known for a lot of that.
Okay.
So that's some of the things that I participated a lot while I was in there. If
Okay.
anyone's heard of Longhorn Entrepreneurship Agency, that was something I participated in a lot.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and I ended up getting into the startup stuff because I was doing entrepreneurship there at UT, and that's kind of where this whole idea for the startup came from. Was actually while I was doing my work at UT.
So what's the name of your startup?
So the name of the startup is Real Life Data.
Real life
Real Life
data.
Data. If you're looking for the legal name there.
So I'm gonna search real life data Austin. So this is, part of this talk is that I am going to basically research and talk at the same time. At the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah. In a
So
fun way, it's almost like you're auditing me. It's like, all right, let's see if your SEO actually works. Do you show up when someone looks up real life data? So yeah, there's our website.
okay. Yeah.
So we are an IoT solution based company, and
Okay.
I'll get into exactly what it is and what
Yes.
it's used
That's what I wanted to ask. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, yeah, we can just go straight into that. Yeah, the name of the company is Real Life Data. I
Hmm.
tell the team all the time, I can't believe that we got that name because you would think if you looked up Real Life Data, something would come up.
Yeah.
But nothing came up. So we took Real Life Data, and we're all really excited about that. Um, and as part of my work at UT, I did a whole lot of IoT stuff, and so did one of the other guys here.
Okay.
And we found that generally the way people set up these IoT systems is you've got your IoT device running with some protocol, but I'll skip that for now. It sends in data to a database, and once it gets into that database or on its way in, you check the data and do something because that data is either good or bad, right? And then you store that data, and then you visualize that data. So
Okay.
it's a pretty simple pipeline, like just from an understanding point of view. So think of it as you've got a pressure sensor on some car, or maybe temperature sensor would be better. So you got a car that is transporting a whole bunch of ice, and you have a temperature sensor inside of that car to make sure that it doesn't get too hot.
Hmm.
And that device sends data to a database, and that database, whenever it sees anything that is, say, above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, it will send a text message to the driver to be like, hey, it's too hot in your car and you need to go figure that out, or the delivery is going to be ruined.
Wow. Okay.
And we worked on a bunch of systems like that, and we found ourselves doing the same thing every single time. There were a lot of people
Okay.
that were using them, but if you were doing the same thing every time, it felt perfect for some solution
Hmm.
that did those same things for you all the time.
Yeah.
And that's where this idea was born from. You can even see the system architecture there as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. So basically, there's different devices, like you said, like a pressure tracker. Then you get some data in a database, and then basically, you filter that data out. Some of that data can be good data. Some of that
Mm-hmm.
data can be junk, and basically, you can visualize that, right? Um,
Yep.
so that visualization part, how does that work? Do you have like a is that like a like a dashboard where you have different tabs, and is it very
Yeah.
customizable? Like how does that work?
So we went for incredibly customizable.
Okay.
You might have heard of Tableau
Yeah.
and like Grafana and stuff like that. So it's like you use this tool to build your visualizations,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what we did. And we built it with one thing in mind that I think Tableau doesn't keep in mind, which is that we want to make this really easy for new people who totally understand their data to be able to get something done.
Mm.
Tableau makes it very difficult. So when we went and built ours, it was all about like, hey, make it as easy as possible and make it clear like whenever you do something, what happened, what did that do. So ours is completely customizable. You can go create graphs, you can say what data is going to be on each one of the axes,
Okay.
you can go put constraints and filters on them, you can even go make like tabular like tables like
Hmm.
you would see in a spreadsheet,
Okay.
and you can put those onto dashboards if you would like, and I think we have one of the most innovative like dashboard creation things in the world because
Okay.
it feels like making a slideshow. You just drag elements in, size them how you want, and it kind of lines up with things as you move it around.
Okay.
And then from there, obviously, you can give people the dashboards, give people the graphs, they can check them out, but it's as customizable as you really want it to be.
Uh-huh. And so you said also that it's hard to do that with Tableau. Why would it? I don't have a lot of experience with Tableau. I think I worked on it once or something like that. And I
Yeah.
do remember it was quite difficult to build something. But why? Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is that?
I think that's an awesome question. Tableau is, first of all, Tableau sold to somebody for like $1.6 billion. So I can't get mad
Okay.
at Tableau. Tableau did an amazing job,
Okay.
but they went after huge enterprise customers, and
Ah.
they were doing work where it's like, hey, we are selling to somebody who's getting billions of pieces of data in every day. We're selling to the Googles, we're selling to the Netflixes, we're selling to these huge guys,
Okay.
and so we need a solution that reflects that.
Yeah.
So they have a ton of tools. They have so much awesome stuff. But so does a coding language. A coding language can do anything. Tableau can do anything, but it means that if you want to get started with it, it is going to be difficult by its very nature.
Hmm.
So we came up with a solution for ours that we think is far more usable
Okay.
for 90% of cases, because most people don't have billions of pieces of data, or they don't need to have this one incredibly specific little feature that only one person in the world is going to use. Rather, there's some very baseline things that everybody wants to be able to do, and we offer those, and we think we offer them in the easiest way possible.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any like use cases that you want to share? Like maybe some companies that some success stories or something like that?
Yeah, yeah, I'll share, and I want to be clear. I think this community is far more into like lovable type stuff, and I think we
Okay.
talked about this the other day, where it's like this community is more about making web-based solutions for like here's a website you can go to that's really cool,
Okay.
that solves your problem, or like an application like a web app that you can use that does something.
Hmm.
So this is a little bit different than some of this stuff, right? Because we focus so heavily on IoT.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
I'll be clear with that first.
No, no, but that's really cool. I want to do a deep dive on IoT. That's
Yeah,
why I was asking about, these different use cases that you have because I think a lot of people here they've heard about the term just like with me, right? I've heard about IoT, but I'm not, I'm very shallow in that
yeah,
niche. So I would love to know, I would love to learn about different use cases, different companies that, you work with just so that we can
yeah.
start entering into that realm.
Absolutely. So the product that we recently like fully released that we have some of these success stories with is
Mhm.
called RLD1. You can even look that up, RLD.1.
Or
Can't believe we got that domain either. We're really happy about that.
is it this one?
RLD
RLV?
dot RLD.one. RLD.1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
R.
it's a pretty cool RLD. So this is the product that we just released,
Okay.
and this is what I've been describing to you guys. It's hey, I have some IoT device, and then I'm going to go and take that data and do something with it in some database somewhere.
Hmm.
So a couple of the examples that we've had that have been pretty successful is we're actually working with a company out in Saudi Arabia right now,
Wow.
and they're actually the Saudi Arabian government is funding this big project to try to bring a whole lot more food supply to people in Oman, which is
Wow.
awesome, really cool.
Really cool.
And they are setting up a ton of greenhouses,
Okay.
and they don't have the best environment for doing it, so that's why they're setting up a greenhouse. But it's going to be environment controlled greenhouses. So
Okay.
they actually want to control the humidity inside of there. They want to constantly monitor it. They
Hmm.
want to be able to control the temperature to some degree, and they need to be able to read that not only in every greenhouse, but on each one of the plots inside each one of the greenhouses.
Okay.
And it's very important that they're able to know when something is going wrong.
Okay.
So our work with them is essentially we're helping them set up. Okay, you've got these sensors that you're going to put in the ground. They're going to be able to tell you what's going on,
Hmm.
but you need to be able to remotely access that. So someone doesn't have to be on site to see the data. You want to make sure that if something goes wrong, you don't have to be looking for the data. Some system will tell you when that goes wrong.
Okay.
So we're helping them when they get their sensor set up. They send it into our product, and we set up a whole bunch of triggers on the incoming data that says, hey, if the temperature is above this threshold for this specific plot, then we need to send out an alert to somebody to come fix that who's on site. And
Wow.
our system will send that alert out to them, whether it's email or text message or WhatsApp or whatever. We're
Interesting.
working with them to figure out exactly what that is. Um, but it's a really, really interesting use case that you don't. I don't know. I wasn't expecting that to be one of the ones we did, but they just have all of these sensors connecting to your wireless gateway, like your router, in each one of these buildings, sending data into us, and we're just making sure that things go right for them,
Yeah.
while also storing that data so they can visualize it and see
Hmm.
what plots are working the best, what greenhouses are working the best. Are there certain things they're growing that just tend to do better under these conditions? A lot of cool stuff that
Yeah.
we're kind of getting into with them right now.
Okay. Okay. So it's like, automating processes and gathering data to make business decisions eventually, right? Like important decisions based
Yes.
on this data. Cool. Funny enough, like about a month ago, so I offer like these consultation calls for an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and for Lovable stuff and for Framer stuff. And someone from Texas, also from the Austin region, was
Hey.
trying to build something in Lovable that kind of analyzed the power grid in Texas, and
Oh
eventually,
wow.
eventually, if the power grid was like at a certain level, what he wanted to create some type of like automation that would send people a text message warning them.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy that that he's also from
Yeah.
your city, and maybe I can
Yeah.
represent I can connect you to him eventually, but
Yeah.
um
This feels like a great segue because I've been talking a lot about IoT like devices and stuff,
uh-huh.
but this is a use case that I think points something out that's really cool. He needs to go figure out, okay, how am I going to send out this alert? How am I going to send out this text message? Like all that stuff is hard. You got to go into Twilio if you use Twilio or one
Mm,
of the other competitors. You got to get their code out of it. You've got to go put it into Lovable. You've got to go figure all that out. With us, it's all
yeah.
no code.
Okay.
I'll just make an
Interesting.
endpoint for you. Your Lovable can send it into my endpoint, and then it's literally completely no code to set up. Hey, here's my phone number. Send me a text when temperature is greater than 80, or when the grid hits this specific,
Yeah.
thing that's going on. Uh, and that is where I think for some of the people who are going to watch this video or are in this call might be interested is that we can just act as kind of a back end for your website that you're designing. And
Hmm.
it's completely no code. You can have alerts go out when people do things. Say someone's filled out a form on your website,
Hmm.
it could come into us, and then you could send a text message to yourself if you wanted to let yourself know that someone filled out that form or that something happened
Yeah.
while you're on your website.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we were talking about Twilio for this, SMS automation, I remember. And I also saw that he found some type of API, and we were trying to get that API information. I remember we spent like an hour trying to find a way to call the information every 15 minutes, and that it's
Yeah.
portrayed in the super base database,
Mm-hmm.
and then like somehow there was an AI involved that can analyze the data. It was very
Yeah.
complicated,
Yeah.
yeah, but very interesting project. I think he managed to solve it. I haven't spoken to him, um, but yeah, he mentioned this tool Twilio.
Yeah, Twilio's a good one. I think for anyone doing any no code stuff, I think Twilio is kind of cool
Mm,
because there's so much data on it, so much documentation, so your AIs know about it. So you can
okay.
probably ask them to write stuff for you in Twilio, and you'll generally get good stuff. And
Yeah.
Twilio does a good job. They have a decent pricing model for emails, for text messages. I like Twilio; they're good. We
Okay.
use them on our back end. We just make everything no code for you, so you don't have to worry about connecting it to your project.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. Um, so yeah, let's check out your product. Let's go
Yeah,
over here.
absolutely.
So
Um,
RLD.1.
RLD.1. We're again all about IoT, right? IoT cloud solutions. One thing I actually haven't mentioned is we also do controls on those IoT devices.
Okay.
And one of the example apps that I built when I was doing some consulting for someone was a control system for chambers, for like manufacturing chambers. And what the chambers do, I'm not going to talk about, but the whole concept was that you could have a phone app that you could give to, say a manufacturing floor manager or an NMDP or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and they could literally click to start and stop the machine on their phone while doing tests on the chamber. And it was cheaper and easier to set up than a lot of other stuff. So you'll see a couple of those on our website talking about how to create control systems
Okay.
with RLD1.
Okay.
But I'd love to get your critique of the website. For anyone who doesn't know, I talked to Lucas about this. I built this website, did it in about 3 days, and it made me start looking up Lovable and a whole bunch of other no-code like website tools because I did this all by hand, and it was not the way to go.
So how did you build this? This is like some you coded it?
Yeah, coded from scratch, just JavaScript, HTML, and
Okay.
SCSS. So
Okay. Wow. That's an interesting approach that I mean you are, you are a developer also, so
yeah,
I mean, so makes sense. But yeah, I think in terms of website, we're all here, we have this design background, so I think we can give you some good tips on how to improve. I guess guys, you can look maybe for some ways of how to improve this search for this. Let me put this on the chat so you guys can check it out. So you get some good critique. Maybe someone here can eventually help you out.
Yeah, and I know Lucas, we talked about that, and I'd love to at some point once we are wanting to do another website or do a revamp, get someone from here
Yeah,
to
yeah,
help us out with it.
for sure, for sure. You can post in the jobs channel. We have everyone that's in this call is great, right? So you can eventually just post that out in the job post, and we go from there. But yeah, going back to here. Okay, so here you have like these different. Click images below to see videos of RLD in action. So we have connect IoT devices. So these are connecting to physical devices.
Yes. In fact, the device I was connecting to, I think I have it in front of me right here.
Okay.
It's the little board that I use for demos. Let's see if I can get the camera to see it.
Oh, okay. Is that like
Yeah,
like an Arduino type of thing?
this actually was out of the box. It's by a company called Microchip, and
Okay.
it just out of the box senses temperature and pressure, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
got this little wireless, or I'm sorry, antenna on it,
Yeah.
because it also attached to a cellular plan that we buy when we buy this little device.
Interesting.
The only thing I had to do was set it to go to our Amazon data broker, and then from there we got into RLD in about 5 minutes.
Wow. That's so cool.
So yeah, very cool. Microchips, all right. I don't think they're amazing, but they do some cool stuff.
I mean, I in my university time, we used to have a class called interaction design, and so we had to visualize data with tools like that. We used Arduino. I don't know if you've heard about it. Yeah, it's like I think it's pretty famous. It's an Italian brand. And I remember that we would go to like some type of garden and we would measure the certain things. Like we would measure the pressure of the soil, we would
Yeah.
measure like the temperatures, and we would have to visualize that in a Framer website. And it doesn't
Yeah.
exist anymore, the Framer website, um, but we eventually did it, which was pretty cool. Or was it
That's
Framer
awesome.
or Webflow, something like that? I don't remember. Um,
Something like that.
yeah, yeah,
There's so many of them. How can you remember, right?
yeah, yeah. Some no code tool, but cool. All right, so
Yeah.
this is basically connecting it to one of those sensors, right? Like,
Exactly.
okay, got it. So all right, then we
And
have,
I can even explain a little bit of what's going on in the video if you'd like, but we can
okay,
also move through so we can get to more stuff,
yeah.
just depending on how you
I
feel
think
about time.
yeah, I think what we can do is just continue. I think what you can also do is do like a live type of. I think it's better if you um manually do it instead of me going through each video, because I think it's more entertaining somehow. What do you think?
Yeah. Let's see. Let me see if I can actually get set up with all of this stuff because I haven't had this board connected in a little bit.
And you also wanted to show
Um,
this mobile forms feature, right?
yeah,
That's something.
let's start with that, and then I'll get to the input of like IoT data because I need to have an IoT device with me,
Okay.
and my team has them with them right now, and they're
Okay.
at lunch. So
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah.
No problem. No problem.
Um, But yeah, so play this video and I'll kind of just narrate over it. So one of the things we did is we also wanted to make it so you could make control systems on your phone, kind of like I was talking about. But it ended up turning into essentially just form creation software.
Hmm.
We have some stuff internally that takes the data that comes in and then does actions with it, and that's the control part. But you can just use us as a form creation software as well, and it's all no code, drag and drop. You can kind of see what's going on here. We have the tools for being able to test it inside of our platform. So I'm actually testing this form that I made out in a phone emulation that's running on our web platform.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, the forms are pretty cool. It's actually, if anyone wants to, you can go to RLD1 right now. You can go get a demo account and you can start messing with the form stuff. It's completely free. I love having new subscribers, obviously, but it's not going to cost you anything. We're not going to ask you for your credit card. So if you
Okay.
guys are interested in playing with it, it is fun to play with. Yeah. Oh my God, that's a lot of Googling.
Oh yeah. I have a lot of domains.
I have about 4 or 5 that I'm doing myself right now.
Okay. So I'm gonna test it out myself actually.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so I think also one important thing to kind of that I wanted to take away from this call. One second. Where's my email here? Um.
I was worried you were going to put the email on the screen and
Yeah.
just going. I'm like, don't
Yeah.
do it.
That's what I
You're
was
going to dox
thinking.
yourself.
All right. Got it. This is the code. So yeah, one important thing that I wanted to kind of communicate or wanted to get out of you, Jacob, is how we like imagine our community right now. People like I'm talking about in Discord, right, from my YouTube channel. We're a lot of designers, web developers, people that are interested in playing around with AI to build apps, right? Um, Okay. So this is like getting started, walkthroughs, GEO fencing tour, interface tour, wiki. I thought it said WikiLeaks.
That would have been interesting. Yeah. Completely different platform we're talking about.
WikiLeaks. Okay,
Yeah. We're,
cool.
we're trying to help people out with stuff like this. So
Gotcha.
you're welcome, anyone, to try these out.
Okay, but what I wanted to say was like, what are, and I guess you're gonna talk about this soon, but like, what are the career opportunities that people can have coming from
Yeah.
this background? I think that's like a kind of
Yeah.
direction that I want to talk about with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll answer that in kind of like 2 ways because I think I could go into like how you could use it with Lovable, but I want to do that
Mm.
second. And I
Okay.
want to tell you guys another example that I recently started working on. A friend of mine started working with a container company. It's actually a guy who manages container companies. Not containers, my bad. Self-storage companies.
Self storage.
So
Okay.
companies where you buy your storage area and you store stuff there.
Yeah.
And this guy was having a big issue with vacancies. when people are supposed to vacate or they stop paying and they're supposed to vacate, you have to send someone out there. You have to crack open their lock because you don't have a key. You have to go crack it.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes, given certain circumstances, like 3 to 4 hours of time for whoever has to go and check if that thing has even been vacated. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just checking. That's not if something else is happening. But you're already paying like 4 hours. Say you're paying this guy $20 an hour. You're throwing away almost $100 per one of these things every 6 months when someone has to go vacate, and it turns into thousands upon thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah.
And so his thought was, well, can we just know if it's been vacated using some kind of sensor or something like that?
Uh-huh.
So this friend of mine came to me because he was in contact with this guy. I was like, hey, I know you built this entire IoT platform. How could we make an IoT device work for this? And
Mm.
it's a perfect example actually, because you get a little IoT device in there, a little camera, and it uses an AI system to just tell you whether or not there's things in there that are different from when it's empty. That's all it does. It's a pretty
Okay.
simple thing. But then from there, it was being able to get that data into a platform that sends text messages out, that lets people know when something is going wrong. So that way, you don't have to have someone go out and check, but rather this camera does it for you. It goes up to this web cloud platform, and then that platform will send you a text only when someone hasn't vacated. And
Okay.
you solved a really big issue there. You're saving easily thousands of dollars a year
Yeah.
by doing something like
Totally.
that. And so he kind of took it upon himself after talking to me. He's like, okay, I'm going to use your guys' platform. I'm going to build this little IoT device that does this, one job, and then I'm going to throw it into RLD1.
Mm.
And RLD1 will handle the triggering for me.
Mm.
It'll handle keeping all of the data in a database for me. I can make it send text messages when one of these events happens where someone was supposed to vacate and they didn't.
Okay.
And it was really cool. He, on his own, went and found someone who had a problem, and he used an IoT device to solve it. So, that's the first answer to your question is you guys can use this to do like IoT solution contracting. And
Okay.
you don't need to understand everything about how to code, how IoT devices work. As long as you can get the physical hardware to work yourself, the cloud platform, the database, and all that stuff can be totally on RLD, and it's super cheap compared to everyone else, and it's just saving you a ton of time, so that way you'd be able to actually complete these projects for people.
Got it. Okay. So it's basically like if I'm here in Miami, we also have different storage units here, but let's say that we have some type of I don't know, just getting some idea off the top of my head. There's different logistic companies as well, a lot of them here. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they have some type of warehouse, and a few trucks are supposed to come, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe the owner of that company has different warehouses, and you can
Yeah.
get some type of track, like some type of sensor, whether it be visual or whether it be like a motion sensor. I don't know, just thinking about something, and
Yeah.
find, like, basically what you have to do as a creator like us is think of a solution of how to help this business
Mm-hmm.
track their I don't know, or
Track their traffic.
yeah, with some type of automation that with
Yeah.
the sensor. Okay, got it.
And it's actually really funny you brought up logistics, because I was talking to a plumber out here in Austin who he has to have people go out and go to people's houses because he runs a whole bunch of different plumbers. I think like 10 vans,
Okay.
and he was looking for a contractor or a consultant to help him implement a system for tracking those vans because he was using Samsara before and it was just too expensive. And he
Okay.
was like, I would rather pay 5 to 10K for this guy to come out and help me figure out a solution that'll work for me instead of paying Samsara, $500 every single month, because it just becomes too much. And
Mm,
he was looking for exactly kind of what you were talking about, was someone to come out and build a solution that used an IoT device to track where that van was,
gotcha.
and then let him know when that van was near his HQ, or when it was going out to go see someone. right?
Okay.
So that's a perfect example of being that person who they can come to get that problem solved.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Let's say that we, for example, want to do that right now. Let's say that I know a plumber here in South Florida that manages 20 different plumbers with 20 different
Yeah.
vans. How would we start here? So we have, I'm looking at the interface. It starts off with the first project, right? I guess I'm already on the project, and let's just go through this interface. We have the project
Yeah.
list on the left. So projects, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want, if at any point, say, hey, Jake, shut up. Let me talk. Just let me know.
Okay, okay,
But the first thing is, okay, let's figure out how to get data into RLD1.
okay.
And I think the getting started kind of goes over that. It's always like, okay, let's get data in.
Yeah.
And you would go to the input connectors over there on the left. So you feel free to click on that.
So input connectors. Okay, here, right here. Gotcha.
There you go. And click manage. You can manage a whole bunch of them at one time, but go click to add a new one, and we can kind of go through it. So we're making a whole bunch right now. We actually just met about this today. A whole bunch of connectors for existing services. So we are going to make connectors for Google Sheets. We're going to make connectors
Amazing.
for Airtable.
Amazing.
We're probably going to make them for Lovable. We're going to make them for a whole bunch of different stuff. Right now, we've got two basic ones. You guys are probably familiar with HTTP.
Yeah.
So go ahead and click on the HTTP one, and I can kind of show you what it's doing.
So HTTP. All right, perfect. Let's click on that. That would be awesome if I would totally do like a video one day of me buying an Arduino type of sensor and filming the whole process and then connecting it over here and somehow showing how the data sinks in and all that. That would be a cool tutorial.
It would be cool. And we're trying to do that ourselves right now. Once we get our other work done, we want to start making videos connecting Arduinos.
Cool.
So yeah, it's really cool. So yeah, click on the input connector there. You have this new tile here. And you can just click on it and it'll open up the options for it.
Okay.
So what this has is you can see that it's got connector details, a name and description. Those are just for you to know what it is. Doesn't matter what you name them. Underneath that, you have the assigned URL. So our platform generates a URL for you that you can just send data to this URL now. And that data can get put into the RLD data system.
Okay.
That you have in front of you right here. It generates one for you for security reasons. That's like, I think 128 characters long, so that way no one can ever guess it.
Okay.
If you want, you can make your own and do your own credentials. But the way that you would get started with the project that you were saying here is you would take that URL and you would send the data to that. So you can probably ask Lovable to do this or any AI system. Say, hey, can you do a post request to this endpoint and send it, some JSON data.
Okay, let's actually test that out right now. It takes 5 minutes. So, can you? How can we phrase this? Can you use the following URL? No. How can we phrase this?
I would say something like, because obviously Lovable builds websites, right? So I'd be like, hey, can you make me a website with a button that when I click it, sends some random JSON data to this endpoint? And then if you give it the endpoint, it should be able to just do it. So let's see. I'd be curious.
Yeah.
I've done this a lot myself. I've gone and made, even our wiki has some stuff for it. But I'd be curious to see what Lovable has for it.
Yeah, but cool. Let's come back to this once it's done. It's probably going to take some time.
Absolutely. So, and a lot of cool stuff here, right? What you do initially, our thought was people who are doing this aren't going to be engineers who know every detail. They're not going to be like, okay, I know the exact way that my packet's going to come in. I know this exact name and this encoding and all this cool stuff. So we put in this testing mode that you can see on there that listens for data coming in and just shows you what it looks like and gives you an interface for deciding what data you're actually going to be looking at. If you want to rename the data, you can do that as well. And it even has some AI on the back end that will guess, or I get more informed than that, predict what format it is that's coming in,
Okay.
whether it's a date, or maybe it's a number, or maybe it's a location, latitude and longitude. So it can guess that stuff for you to make your life a little easier, again, because we're not making this for an engineer that knows everything. We're making this for guys like you who are really smart and know what they're doing. You just don't know how to code everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So it's not going to be like raw code. It's going to be more formatted via an AI. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
In fact, so I'm curious if Lovable's done here. So our wiki has a really good thing for going through this. We even have our geolocation stuff that'll do it as well. All right. Wow, look at that. Okay, so click the button below to fetch random JSON data from the endpoint. So it's fetching it. You need to tell
Okay.
it to
To
send
post.
data to it, to post data to it.
So, by the way, would I have to set this to run or to testing?
Send it into testing mode.
To testing. Okay.
So some stuff you can't do in testing mode because now this is all set up for you.
Okay.
But yeah, if you tell Lovable to post to it, it would be sending us data rather than asking for data.
So let's post the let's or let the website, or I'm just gonna write, instead of fetching the data, it should post the data.
There you go.
All right.
So I'm always impressed, by the way, whenever I do the Lovable stuff. I did some AI work in college.
Okay.
So every time I'm like, this is just cool.
Yeah.
These guys were able to make this work.
And it's getting better and better. It's insane. I was using this tool. I don't know if you've heard of it. I think it's American, Replit.com. And
I have heard of Replit. I've heard of Replit. Huh.
It's really powerful. I think it's more technical than Lovable. Lovable, you only have this chat interface, but
Yeah.
this one is much more technical. You should check it out. So
Cool.
JSON data poster. Okay, click the button below to post JSON data to the endpoint.
All right, let's click it. Oh man.
I think we have to add some type of URL input, so that it saves, because I don't think it properly saved this.
Oh, you don't think it saved the input?
No.
Yeah, you could say give it a different endpoint like input and then use that. That would be smart.
How would I write that?
Give me a text box.
Okay.
That I can use to change the endpoint that the data is going to.
Perfect. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, then I think that should work. Because I've used URLs for some APIs, and whenever it has some type of input, it works much easier. Like with OpenAI or with something like that. So yeah, let's see.
One of the things we were talking about the AI stuff made me think of this. Obviously, we have the form creation stuff, and you can it's building phone apps. I have a bunch that run on my phone.
Okay.
And we have all the input stuff that we're doing right now, as well as output stuff. What we really want to do is get it to kind of be like Lovable, where you can just describe it and it'll go build those things for you.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a project that I'm working on right now with one of my engineers. It's like, hey, we think we really want to go after this and figure this out. Failed to post data. Interesting. I'm curious if the data is even getting to RLD.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I didn't know you could do images with this guy. That's cool. So yeah, go click on RLD just out of curiosity. And if you go to incoming fields, oh, wait a minute, it actually got information. Look at that.
Okay.
Okay. So Lovable's having some issues, but RLD's working just fine. So here's kind of what's cool is now we know what some of the data was that was coming in through here. If you go to field map, we can actually map that data so that way we can use it inside of RLD. So click on the left, click on incoming fields.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And just drag one of those guys in. All right, so there you go. It has text. If you click on the log data test to the right, it should kind of tell you what is in there.
Yeah.
We're remaking this one part because I think the UI isn't very good for this. But you can see it's
The
telling us,
value.
hey, yeah, we got in some text that says that this is a day. We might have a translator that can change that into a date inside of RLD for us.
Okay.
But drag in the other ones because I'm just curious what data it sent us because we told it random data and we have no idea.
So message, it says hello from Lovable app.
That's awesome. And here's the cool thing, right? So we did our testing stuff. If you go back to config and status, and you can click it, turn to run now. So this just means data is now going in to RLD. Before, it was protecting you so you could do your testing. Now
Oh,
data is
okay.
actually going in. And if you go back to your Lovable app and you click that button a few times, we will actually start seeing data go into this data set.
So let me,
and then we can, of course, use it.
okay, let me publish this so we have a free, fresh URL.
Awesome.
Let's get this.
It's funny. It's the random data went for hi from Lovable app. That's just fun, man. I don't know how they got the AI to do that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay.
Request successful, but no data returned.
All right. Yeah. So RLD has gotten the data in, but it doesn't send you anything back, which makes sense.
Okay.
So once you've put in some data when you're in run mode, you can click on the left sidebar and click on data sets.
Data sets.
There you go. And as you send data in, you'll see it in there. So you can click on this and it'll let you start to explore the data. Again, we're kind of doing something like you'd expect from like, Supabase, right? Where it's like, okay, we're just storing data for you now.
Yeah.
And that's the whole idea. It makes your life really easy. We even attach information to it when it comes in. But if you drag in the field 1, field 2, field 3 to one of those little pluses,
okay,
you'll actually be able to see the data that came in.
Oh, okay. So you have to drag it in here so that it. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So field.
We figured at first we were like, we'll give everybody all the data, and then we realized very quickly they're like, okay, if you're sending in a lot of data, you don't want to see everything at once.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And from here, I think it becomes kind of our job as creators to figure out what you do with this, because now you have all this data inside a database that's completely no code.
Yeah.
And by the way, we've spent a lot of time making sure that you don't have to be an expert on data systems for this. You can mess anything up. You can go make new fields. You can change the name of a field. You could completely delete a field and then get it back super easily. Like, we spent a lot of time making sure that mistakes can be made here and they aren't fatal for what you're doing. So we're a really good, just like, database if you wanted to use that for your Lovable stuff. And then from there, Lucas, we could get it to send a text message to somebody if that's interesting.
Yeah.
We could get notifications to pop up inside of the RLD platform if that seems a little easier. We can also send data out to other places, again, using HTTP.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very curious to see how this works with, for example, Google Sheets, because that opens like the world of Framer also. And Framer, for example, you have this ability to design very nicely, like this Airbnb type of style, like really super flexible in terms of design. And so if you were to get data and bring it into RLD and then transfer that into Google Sheets and then bring that into Framer, you have the possibility to visualize it in a very beautiful way. So that's also something.
We are working on a lot of Google Sheets translators right now. I worked with a couple people using our platform to get our data into Google Sheets. So maybe I'll have to put in some more work. Put that at the top of my list. Is making that connection even quicker.
No, but it's really interesting. So here, theoretically, I can also tell Lovable, for example, let's pretend that we are, a plumbing company and we have 10 different trucks and we have the sample data. So we can theoretically tell that to Lovable can create a little interface, and then we can send that to RLD. And then comes my next question. So
Yeah,
here in RLD, how so I see these things, visualizations, graphs, tables, dashboards. So if I were to click on graphs, could I add a graph based on the data from this Lovable project?
you could. You
Okay,
could. It'd be the only thing I'll tell you is right now all we have is text, so I
yeah,
don't know what graph we would make.
true,
But
true.
yes, you absolutely could.
That's true. Okay, that's very true. Maybe we'd have to add some like example things.
Yeah. We could go back to the map and change the date that's coming in to no longer be text. Instead, it will show up as a date. So that way we could like maybe plot when things are coming in. That
That's
would
what
be
I was
interesting.
thinking. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like a timeline, and then we would see like two messages or one message coming at this time. I don't know. I don't know how
Yeah.
that would be, but
I
basically
think
it's
it would
here.
be, yeah, you could do it here and you can click manage just so we can see what graphs and stuff
Yeah,
exist. If you want to click on that and then click on the new graph. Um, by the way, you'll see we have everything works very similarly all throughout the product. Um, these are some of the initial graphs that you can get, and then you can change all the options from there. But we do a lot of location data as well. If that's something that somebody in your life, like, hey, we need to do location data stuff, RLD is an amazing place to go for.
mm,
Genuinely, I did a tutorial for our website the other day, and I was tracking a simulated device in 2 minutes, and then I had a system that was sending me texts when it got near our building within 5 minutes, and it was really awesome.
okay,
So we do have the ability to do location maps here. We have a
yeah.
bunch of different graph types as well. Like I said, very tableauish. You can kind of make your own stuff, put constraints on it, etc.
Do you also work with like agencies that create these types of visualizations for companies, and they use your tool as like a like a middleman or something like that?
I wish we're trying to get in the door with some of those guys, but
Okay.
it's the life of a startup. You're constantly trying to find those opportunities.
Okay, okay. But that would be something that you would be interested in. So let's say that one of us here, we have like an agency where we can, um, I don't know, where we do some type of data visualization. What I'm trying to think, like, do you have any like knowledge as to what, or do you know any agencies that are doing that very interestingly that you might want to work with? So just so that we have like some type of inspiration as to what direction we can head towards if we were to
Yeah,
build an agency. Um, you understand what I'm saying?
it's an interesting question. I kind of get what you're saying. I don't know the names of anyone
Okay.
that's doing this stuff, but I do know that there's a reason that like Tableau exists, Grafana exists, because data visualizations are a really big thing. And one of the markets we're looking at is people who create big dashboards for people, and they get contracted out to make them. Well, all they have to do is do what we just did to get data in, and then they can
Yeah.
start making those visualizations.
Got
So
it.
I wish I had a better answer,
Yeah.
but
No, no, no. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. I'm just thinking of like for the people that would be watching this, what is a good way to start if they were interested in doing some type of business like this? What is the best way to start? Like, um, I think that your tool would be a good way to start, but like, how can they build their portfolio, so to say, or like demo
yeah.
use cases? Like, what would be a good idea for those types of people?
For
Um,
getting started with that stuff, I think it's I gave that example of my one friend who knew someone who was doing the
yeah,
self storage stuff.
yeah,
It's finding projects like that. There's IoT consultants out there. There's a lot of people who do this IoT stuff. And I think your job is to just find those things, advertise yourself as an IoT consultant, and people have IoT problems they need solved, so they'll come to you for those things. And yeah, use all DU1. I'd love it if you did, but do whatever you got to do
yeah.
to just build a portfolio, exactly like you said, of solutions that you've made.
For sure, for sure. We'll like yeah, I definitely hope that everyone that has this idea or is inspired by this would use our RLD1. So
Yeah,
let's see. So we had something with a histogram, right? I was looking at this because of the timeline type of thing. Would this be something interesting for our use case? I mean, I know we don't have numbers or anything, but just to.
It absolutely it could be right because you could get the date format of the text that we had as the date, and if you do that, then yeah, you could see okay, what time periods am I getting the most messages in?
Gotcha. Okay, so let's try to do that. So okay, all right, all right. So I see. So these are the values, the constraints. Okay, so let's check on the input fields. So so we have okay. So this is kind of
So yeah, go ahead, my man.
yeah. So we have field one, field two, field three. But how do I know which one would be the date?
So we should have named them when we were there. If you go back to
Okay.
the input connector, we can go give them a name, and you can click on the bottom there. You're good. Click on your input connector there, and we can go back and we can map them.
Okay.
So go to the field map.
Oh, okay. Here you would. Okay, gotcha. Here you would
And
name it.
yeah, you can click on the field configuration. I know what you're doing, and I also want to add that in. So on
Okay.
the right side of the field configuration, you can just go change it right there.
So this would be the timestamp.
Yeah, and we're changing the system so it'll just take the original name that you have and put it there first for you.
Okay.
But right now, it's just field 1, 2, 3.
Okay. No, it makes sense. It's really really like powerful. I mean, it's like you said, it's more of like a back end thing. But now
Very
that
much so.
I've been using Lovable a lot, and I understand more and more. Like, I've been using a lot of backends, or I've been trying to use different backends, and this is really cool because you also like you have a lot of flexibility when it comes to like
Yeah,
uh, understanding your data and visualize visual visualizing your data. So
yeah.
um,
So before we leave this screen,
yeah.
go click on the timestamp one. Because we might be able to get that into a good date translation category. So click on translation category and select date,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
and we should be able to go to translator selection after that, and we should have a format that it can read here.
Okay, so this is
Let's
like
see.
the
It
European one.
originally went through that. My guess is click general date structure. I wonder if that'll work. And now click on log test data, and it should tell us what it thinks it's getting from this. All right, there you go. So we're trying to do a better job with letting you guys know what's going on here.
Okay.
But it actually it's getting the data incorrectly, and it's showing it in number of milliseconds because that is the way that every platform in the world does time on the back end. Is they keep track of the number of milliseconds
Okay.
since one specific date.
And I have a question. This is like, running because it's fetching data. Is that why it's okay? Is that
Yeah,
why?
it's actually when you're in test mode or run mode, our system has like AI systems and stuff that are keeping track of the data for you as it's coming in.
Mhm.
And in order to make sure you can continue to map things, but they aren't constantly moving on the screen, it doesn't refresh the new data coming in unless you click that button in the top or you have auto set.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that way it's not like oh yeah, I want to use this field. You go to grab it and a new field comes in. It's like, okay. Like
Okay.
I want to be able to work with this. So.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's go back to our graphs. Manage. Let's go to our histograph, I think it was called. And then now we understand what's what. So we get this timestamp.
Timestamps, and it should give us. I think we only have like 3 pieces of data, so I'm not sure there's much we can do with a histogram. If you're aware of what a histogram is.
I can only imagine what it is, but I don't really know. It's basically like a timeline, I guess, like a bar graph timeline.
A histogram is telling you the number of occurrences of different values. So if you
Okay.
have a big list of numbers and you have, 100 shows up a whole bunch, 80 shows up, 30, 70, it'll show you what numbers show up the most.
Okay.
And what it would be doing here is showing us what times are showing up the most. But we have so few times that it doesn't really have any data to make sense of.
Okay. Understand.
I think if we had a number coming in from Lovable, it would be much easier for us to make these graphs.
Okay. So
But since we only have a little bit of time,
Yeah.
I'd love to go show you the output stuff because I think
Yes.
that could also be really useful for people as well as our calculation stuff.
Okay, let's do
But
it.
yeah, click on the output, and I'll kind of show you some stuff that you can do with
So
this.
over here, right? Output connectors.
Yeah. Yep. And you're going to see very similar to everything else. Go ahead and click a new one, and a whole
Okay.
bunch of different stuff you can do here. You can send out text messages and emails, which I keep talking about a lot because it's really cool. A lot of use cases for that. But the other two that are really interesting that work with Google Sheets really well is HTTP pull and push. So
Mhm.
you can push data from RLD into other projects, Google Sheet, Framer, your other backend stuff.
Yeah.
But you can also make it available for other guys to come ask RLD for data with doing the HTTP pull one.
Yeah. Okay.
Whenever I do examples with people, I always grab SMS, push, or email because it's the easiest one to understand because you're just going to get a text message.
I mean, let's do it. If it's the easiest one to understand, let's do it.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in this, for example, like these two, eventually to
Mhm.
kind of like show in Framer, for example, or
Yeah.
in Lovable. But yeah, let's try this SMS push.
All right.
So I'll get a text message, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's put this guy up. And for now, to keep it easy, we'll just make it so you get a text message whenever data comes in.
Okay.
And we'll just have Lovable do this thing. So I don't know how to do this without doxing you with the phone
True.
number.
I just saw that my phone number. Well, let's
Yeah.
pause this really quick. All right, so I'm playing it again. So click on real time. So I set my phone number. So
And now we can say, okay, trigger in real time when something happens. And the best way to make this happen just anytime is click on other fields or dataset fields and just put in, message. So you're essentially saying, hey, as long as there is a message, send me a text message.
okay.
So from there, you can go to output. I'm going to skip data for now. That's a little bit more advanced.
Okay.
But you can go to output and you can compose the text message, and you can even include things that came in from your data.
Oh,
so if you
cool.
want, you can include the message that Lovable sent to you if you click on dataset fields.
Amazing. Okay, let's do that.
So you can just click and drag that in, and it will literally just put that in there. And the timestamp will come out as well if you want that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can imagine there's some powerful things in use here. If you have people running something on your website and you want to know exactly like what they put in as
Yeah.
data.
Yeah. Amazing. So I have a question before we set this up. If I were to have a form in let's say Framer, right? And usually in Framer we can use something called webhooks to send our form data. Could we eventually set up like a webhook to RLD and eventually do this? Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, that would be really cool. That's another YouTube tutorial that would be very valuable. Okay.
I think you're right, and I'll have to message you after this so I can get that written down somewhere.
We'll do it. We'll do it. Awesome. So, what's up? Blah blah blah. This happened at this time. Okay. So.
Yeah, and I can't promise that the time is going to come in a time we can read.
Okay.
I think it's still in milliseconds, but we're fixing that now. We just have to.
No problem. So what I'm gonna do is
from here, you have to go to the connector and you have to turn it on.
Oh, okay.
Right now it's off.
All right, so all right, so now I click on run and then I would go back to Lovable and post something. Okay, so
now, okay, successfully posted data. It takes a few seconds to actually
I got it.
everything. There you
I got it.
there you go.
I got it. Yeah. Oh, I deleted it, I think, by accident. Let me do it again. I can do it again, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You can do it as many times as you want. The free version of the software allows you to do, I think it's like 100 text messages or something like that. So, totally fine.
So I'm just going to show you guys here how it looks like from a screenshot.
Oh, there you go. I was like, oh my God, he's going to put it up. So yeah, you get text messages from RLD and it gives you the information that came from your data. A lot of interesting use cases for this.
Yeah, a lot of interesting use cases. That's for sure. And it's crazy how easy it is to set up. So this comes to my next question, and I
Yeah.
guess a lot of people are going to ask this too. What is your business model? Like, what's your pricing, uh, system behind
Mhm.
this?
Yeah, feel free to go to the pricing page on RLD1 if you want while I talk.
Okay.
But we're a subscription-based model, so like a lot of other stuff, you pay per month to be able to use us.
Okay.
You pay for a certain amount of storage and a certain number of features. So we even have an organization plan if you want to pay for multiple users to be able to do stuff.
Mm,
But yeah, it's per project, it's per the number of data points, it's per the amount of input you can get in per second, and it's for the number of SMS and emails that you sent out.
got it. Okay. So
And
this would,
it's pretty simple. There's add-ons at the bottom. So if you're like, hey, I really only want the basic plan, but I want to send out a lot of emails, you can also do that as well. Um,
okay.
and our thing was we wanted to keep it simple because we're kind of competing with like AWS IoT offerings,
Hmm.
but we're easier to use than them, and our pricing should be easy to use as well. So that's the philosophy behind that.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So this would basically be for, yeah, people that are sending a lot of messages every day.
Hmm.
And okay, cool, cool.
It's now one thing I will say, by the way, is we're a startup, so we can do a whole lot of stuff. If this is interesting to you guys, send me a message, or Lucas, we can talk after.
Yeah.
On the Discord as well. So Discord me. I want to come up with payment pricing that works for you guys,
Mm,
because obviously we put the $60 a month in there for IoT projects, because
yeah.
for an IoT project it's insanely cheap.
Yeah.
But for stuff that you guys are doing, the demo is nice, but if you start going over that SMS, well, all you really want is more SMS. And I think we could absolutely find a pricing model that could be more like $10 a month
Yeah.
or less,
Yeah.
depending on what we think is
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I think it would be cool. Like, it would be a nice use case. I think you would get some users from the Framer universe,
Yeah,
if you offer this SMS feature, like just this SMS feature, and like um, a limited view of the whole database, but
yeah.
more focus on this SMS, and it's kind of like
Mhm.
Framer forms to SMS, right? And you can brand it
Yeah,
like that. Like, I don't know. It's
I think that would be really interesting.
yeah, yeah. That's just one use case out of many that I can think of, right? You can do the same thing with Lovable, and
Yeah.
target people like the person that I was talking to you about, and
Mhm.
but yeah, it's cool that you guys are a small team and that you guys are flexible. You can listen to users. So like you just said, if we have like a specific use case, you can kind of craft up a you know a deal for us, that is
Yeah.
specific to our use case. But yeah, it's
And also, I would love to give you guys a better deal because I just like the community that
uh-huh.
we have here.
Cool.
So I'd love to get a community discount on
Yeah,
there.
for sure, man. We can definitely write that up in the community. I'm gonna share this video in YouTube, and we can put the link of RLD.1 in the description. We can also invite people to the community, and if they join the community via the community, they get some type of discount or something. I don't know. We can
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'd be awesome. Among the other use cases, which I would be really happy to help set up tutorials for in the platform, make videos for, anything to be able to help you guys out if this seems interesting.
For sure, for sure. Awesome, Jacob. So, yeah, thank you so much for your time today. It was really cool. It was a nice little demo. Cool
Yeah,
conversation. I love these types of conversations where we can like research and we can try things live, right? And
yeah,
I think that's what I'm trying to do here with you and with others, and just kind of show, not only talk and show your product, but also show the potentials behind your product, of business potentials that people can eventually do, right? So
yeah.
so yeah, I hope this conversation was helpful for everyone. And yeah, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for being the first person. Episode 1. Really
Thank you for
appreciate it.
having me. I had a good time, and I look forward to the other people you get on here. I think it's
Awesome.
going to be awesome.
Yeah, man. And we're gonna stay in touch, okay?
All right.
All right, man.
Thanks
Okay.
so much.
All right, everyone. Then hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'm gonna stop the recording.